Hello everyone. In this video, we're gonna start next module, which is exploration, and we will talk about different methods that a reservoir can be found. And this is the next module. So we talked about oil industry overview, petroleum reservoir fluids, geology and reservoirs, and now we are gonna talk about the hydrocarbon exploration. So hydrocarbon exploration, basically geophysicists are the ones who are responsible for finding the reservoirs, and geophysicists commonly use three surface methods. So there are subsurface methods and there are subsurface methods that they use to explore and find an oil or gas reservoir. So the surface methods are gravity, magnetic, and seismic methods that we will discuss each of them to explore the subsurface reservoirs. And most of the exploration money is being spent on seismic exploration, and that is where the most technology advances are being made. So exploration starts with geologists conducting initial studies of sedimentary basins, and once the data about the basins are known and there is a potential for hydrocarbon to exist, geophysicists begin collecting seismic data. So this is the main source of exploration data regarding the subsurface, and once these data are analyzed and it appears likely that hydrocarbon is present there, wildcat drilling begins to locate the reservoir. So wildcats basically are the wells that they drill to make sure that there is a reservoir there. So they are kind of not for the purpose of producing, but just for the purpose of exploration. Development companies obtaining detailed knowledge of the various reservoirs within a field, so they can basically be managed for optimal extraction. This continues until the field is finally depleted. It means that everything is produced from the reservoir, and it stops basically being produced. So that's where it stops. All right, so let's basically talk about it. So there are multiple ways of finding, steps basically, I should say, finding oil and gas. And starting with field studies, it's basically the field study initial prospective hydrocarbon reservoirs basically are explored, and these field studies basically use every data that can be available through the field studies, such as surface studies, or particularly rock outcrop and or oil gas seeps that might be found on the surface, satellite images, or other remote sensing data. They might get some information from any wells in the nearby areas, if there is a well exists there, and it also includes the interpretation of any seismic lines obtained across the region. So all these comes together to do some initial field studies, and then the next step is basically acquire, process, and interpret these data. So geoscientists basically design detailed 2D, 3D seismic programs, which we will talk about it, how the seismic and what is exactly a seismic study. In many cases, 3D data are utilized basically to map hydrocarbon formations underground, and in very good detail, in order to minimize the drilling risk, because you want to find the reservoir exact location and you want to drill exactly to that depth. So you want to reduce that risk of drilling to some formations that they don't have any oil and gas, right? Now the data are usually acquired in very harsh environment. Basically it could be in a desert, or depending on the location, in Alaska, in the weather conditions, different things. So it might be hard to get all the data. So geologists also study the outcrops, basically the formations that you can they start underground, but you can see also part of the formation on the surface, and they study these outcrops in the field, as well as the data that they collect from the previous wells, including open hole logs, which we will talk about them, cores, samples that we will talk about them again, and all these data come together to find the target hydrocarbons. So once they have all acquire, process, interpret data, they can generate prospect and drilling locations. So exploration, basically persons maintain a diverse portfolio of oil and gas prospects, and they are approved for drilling by senior management. Before a lead acquire prospect status, it is reviewed thoroughly to ensure that it meets all technical requirements to maximize the potential for the hydrocarbon discovery. Now, drillable prospects are planned several years in advance, and it's basically a team of multiple disciplines, from geologists, drilling engineers, reservoir engineers, production engineers, together to basically make sure that they're not wasting any money there, right? So then they specify the requirements for wells and monitor drilling. Well site geologists are usually present at each exploratory and in any oil and gas development well to monitor the geological aspect of daily drilling activities. So, and then they continuously update the plans as they drill. So data are continuously being reviewed, data are coming, they do the logging, they get more information as they drill. So data from recent wells, new high resolution seismic data, or basically just from as they did drill the wellbores, they get new data, so they need to process those data. And also exploration, it should be a dynamic process at all time. And when a major oil and gas discovery is made, exploration may redirect its resources to fully evaluate the area's potential. So now the surface exploration methods, there are multiple of them. Aerial and satellite surveys may provide the same type of information as that provided by field surface geological studies, and surface geomechanical analysis or geochemical analysis can also provide indication of the presence of subsurface, basically reservoirs. So many scientists speculate that all subsurface hydrocarbon reservoirs give some surface chemical indications of their presence. The simplest example is a surface seep that you might see oil and gas coming out of a surface, and that's kind of just a simple case of that. There are other methods, of course, that can provide the detailed data regarding that. So let's stop for this video, and in the next video we're gonna continue on this topic.